The man got out of the car, slammed the door, and turned around, carrying 2 cans of gasoline. Before he could take another step, 2 security guards stopped him. The man glanced at them and asked directly, "Is this a den of online scammers?" Seeing the other party coming with a fierce expression, the security guard quickly warned them. They were living a life of luxury in there. "I'm just the gatekeeper, you should go back." But the man was not deterred. He slowly put the 2 gasoline cans on the ground. Seeing this, the security guard quickly retreated to stop him but ended up being beaten to a pulp. After knocking down the 2 guards, the man brazenly carried 2 barrels of gasoline and slowly walked into the scammer's den. He placed the barrels of gasoline right in front of the employees. Seeing the scammers still working, the man suddenly became furious. He would walk into the crowd and yell, "Send me your ages. I will go to hell and report you." Many stupid scammers thought this was some kind of company stunt. Little did he know that the nightmare was about to come. One arrogant guy even loudly told the man to stop messing around. The result was that he was beaten to a pulp. Less than 2 seconds later, the handsome guy was beaten unconscious. Only then did everyone realize that the man in front of them was not joking. They held their breath and looked at him in horror. Seeing this, the man was satisfied and began his speech. "I am the one who will finish you all off. Whoever doesn't want to be burned alive, leave now." Despite the man's stern warning, the group of thick-skinned swindlers still showed no other choice. The man had no choice but to pick up the gasoline can and without saying a word, he threw it straight at them. Only then did the group realize that the man was not an easy man. They panicked and ran away in all directions. At this moment, the leader of the gang of con men arrived with a group of aggressive bodyguards. He thought that with the advantage of numbers, they would easily overpower the man. But the man with a face full of makeup paid no attention to them. He turned around and launched a powerful kick. In just a blink of an eye with a series of quick attacks, he had defeated the guards, leaving them unable to react. He looked at the leader who was trembling in fear. The man turned back to pick up the gasoline can and calmly walked towards him. This guy thought the man was just going to burn the place down. Unexpectedly, he suddenly pulled out 2 homemade C4 explosives. The horrifying scene made his face pale. Now he realized that the man in front of him was a real devil. After finishing, Clay kindly reminded the leader, "Run faster, you're about to explode." Seeing the man calmly leave the scene, the leader was scared and ran away. At this moment, Clay's neighbor, Mr. Vong, who happened to be cheated by the scammers, called angrily. Looking at the swindler's lair, it was now just a pile of rubble. The leader died on the spot. He never dreamed that someone would dare to confront his gang. "He was so scared that I quickly called the boss to report the incident." After hearing that, the boss was furious and immediately ordered the leader to lead the assassins to kill Clay. Upon receiving the order to kill, the leader seemed to gain more strength. Without saying a word, he led a large group of assassins straight to Clay's bee farm. The leader ordered the assassins to fire wildly at the beehives. After the lead, he and his assassins rushed straight into the factory. They thought that with weapons in hand, Clay would definitely die this time. But little did they know that their nightmare was just beginning. "If you're lucky, come out." Before they could find Clay, he suddenly appeared from the darkness using the first assassin's chain. It turned out that Clay had been lying in wait. After finishing off the first assassin, Clay did not hesitate. He continued to attack the second assassin before he could react, killing the second assassin. Clay quickly approached the third assassin from behind. The leader was startled by Clay's sudden appearance. He quickly pulled out his gun and started shooting randomly. But even though he had used up the entire magazine, he still couldn't hit a single hair on Clay. The leader panicked and ran away. But then, he was horrified to realize that the assassins he brought with him had been silently taken down by Clay. Just when the leader was about to lose his nerve, Clay appeared. He never dreamed that Clay wouldn't kill him right away. Clay just took a few of his fingers, picked up his bag, and quietly left. This man named Clay used to be a top agent of the Sanctuary Organization. They operate outside the law, handling cases that the government cannot intervene in. Clay, bored with the life of a killer agent, decides to retire and move to a peaceful countryside to start a life of beekeeping. Clay is a man of few words, but he respects his kind landlady, Mrs. Parker. She always supported Clay's beekeeping, often coming to chat and share daily stories with him. Despite his cold appearance, Clay always appreciated Mrs. Parker's concern and considered her as family. However, this peace did not last long. One evening, Clay brought homemade honey to Parker's house to play. But the dark scene in the house caught his attention with his many years of experience as a secret agent. Clay immediately realized something was wrong. He quickly pushed the door open and quietly went to the kitchen to get a fruit knife. When he got to the living room, Clay found a gun on the floor. He was very confused. At this moment, a black policewoman suddenly rushed in and pointed the gun at Clay's neck. She asked Clay why he came to Mrs. Parker's house. Clay quickly guessed that this policewoman was Mrs. Parker's daughter Sophia, standing there. "I will hit you back. Who are you? Dared to come to my house to steal?" When Sophia regained consciousness, she was horrified to find her mother lying dead on the chair. Immediately after, Clay was taken away by the police. After investigation, the police confirmed that Mrs. Parker had given up, so Clay was released. During the conversation with Sophia, Clay learned the reason Mrs. Parker gave up, which turned out to be when her only son died on the battlefield in Afghanistan. She used all her pension and life savings to set up a charity fund, but unfortunately she was targeted by scammers. The online scam wiped out all of Mrs. Parker's charity donations. She had lived her whole life for others. Finally, she suffered such a huge shock, she could not bear the pain and sought death. Sophia would find the scammers to get justice for her mother. But the problem was that according to the law, even if she found them, it would be difficult to convict them. While Sophia was helpless because she couldn't do anything, Clay quietly remembered her words. There were things in this world that couldn't be touched, like Keanu Reeves' dog, Jason Statham's son, or the mother-child relationship in Teen Clay. And yet these stupid online scammers had the nerve to confront them. Sophia had barely recovered from the pain of losing her mother when Clay stood up from the floor. He quickly went to a beehive, pulled out a satellite phone, and called without a word. On the other end of the line was the Sanctuary organization he used to work for. After investigating, Sanctuary told Clay that the gang of scammers who killed Mrs. Parker was actually a famous local corporation. With accurate information about this corporation, Clay did not hesitate to drive there, carrying 2 cans of gasoline and entering. Without saying much, he beat the guards to death, then took out 2 blocks of C4 explosives and leveled the entire company. However, Clay spared the gang leader. Everything happened as he predicted. This guy quickly brought people to take revenge. But in the end, Clay only took a few of his fingers and let him go. Not long after, the leader with his severed fingers drove to a bridge in panic and scratched himself. He endured the pain and called the boss to report his miserable situation. "Oh no boss, that guy is too strong." He was shaking as he spoke, but before he could finish, Clay suddenly appeared. He threw a powerful punch and pulled the leader out of the car. Then he quickly grabbed a rope and tied the leader to the back of the car. Clay started the car and stepped on the gas, rushing forward. Hearing the leader's miserable scream, he thought the boss was worthy. Clay calmly picked up the phone and asked his name. "Hey kid, dare tell me your name? I heard they are very loyal to you. Do you need me to help you lead them?" Only then did the boss realize. It turned out that this was the person who bombed his star point. The boss gritted his teeth in anger. Seeing that he had angered such a dangerous person, the boss quickly reported the matter to strategist Wallace. After hearing this, Wallace felt that this matter was not simple. He then reported it to the boss's mother, and she was the current president of the United States. It turned out that the existence of this fraud gang was to provide political funding for the president. Her son Drake was also the boss behind the gang to ensure his son's safety. The president did not hesitate to order Wallace to handle it completely. With the president's permission, Wallace immediately called the CIA director and asked them to send the most professional assassin. Soon a pickup truck carrying the assassin arrived at the scene. Taking advantage of the moment when Clay was not prepared, the assassin immediately pulled out a submachine gun and fired a crazy round. After firing all the bullets, the assassin slowly approached, but immediately after that she realized that Clay had disappeared. At the same time, the police quickly arrived when they heard gunshots, but before they could react, the assassin continued his massacre without saying a word. Seeing this, Clay quickly grabbed the pump-action gun and took the opportunity to attack, facing Guy's extraordinary strength. In the blink of an eye, the assassin was beaten and caught off guard. Knowing that he was no match for her, the assassin quickly pulled out his gun. But then, she discovered that Clay had disappeared again. Furious, the assassin without a word threw away the curtain and pulled out a heavy weapon, firing straight at the assassin. Seeing that his opponent had completely lost control, Clay did not intend to hold back. He returned to the car, took out a jar of honey, and threw it straight at the assassin. Taking advantage of the moment when the assassin stopped shooting, Clay quickly took out his honey and lit the jar of honey on him. Amidst the miserable screams, the assassin was quickly burned alive. After the assassin stopped breathing, Clay approached and bent down to take one of his fingers. Then he took the car keys from the driver and calmly drove away from the scene. At the same time, the CIA director received news that the assassination mission against Clay had failed. Kota also learned that Clay's next target would be the head of the fraud syndicate. Realizing that Clay had become a major threat, the CIA director decided to send security forces to deal with him to prevent Clay from approaching. Kota ordered the FBI to set up an external defense line, while the CIA security forces would ensure security inside. Just as the security team leader was assigning tasks, Clay suddenly appeared. The captain was surprised and asked for his identity. Clay did not hesitate to introduce himself and advised them to leave. "Do you know what Clay means? He is a murderer. I'm here to deal with you. It is best to leave immediately." Seeing that the other party was too arrogant, the captain immediately ordered the arrest and capture of this field worker. As soon as he finished speaking before anyone could react, Clay had already defeated the entire FBI force. Then he controlled the security team captain and rushed straight into the building. Once inside, Clay immediately attacked without saying much. Facing the siege of the CIA forces, Clay was not afraid at all and resolutely took the team captain hostage, saying, "Don't act rashly or I will kill you." However, the CIA captain did not care about the hostage's life and ordered his subordinates to open fire. Clay quickly moved to avoid the bullets and jumped onto the ceiling, using the electric wire as a rope to hang himself. Then he took the opportunity to attack 2 CIA agents who were standing alone. Hearing the sound of the CIA captain leading people, Clay quickly destroyed the alarm system, causing the entire building to be plunged into darkness. Taking advantage of the captain's lack of vigilance, Clay used an electric wire to clamp onto the captain's gun and pulled the trigger, killing all the CIA agents on the spot. The CIA captain went crazy and pulled out a small knife and rushed into a decisive battle with Clay. It was clear that he had underestimated Clay's strength. In just 2 rounds, Clay had defeated the captain. At the same time, Sophia also led the hatchet team to arrive. At this time, Clay was installing a bomb at the elevator door. Hearing the FBI's noise, he quickly got into the elevator. The FBI saw this and immediately chased after him, firing wildly at the elevator roof. Clay immediately detonated the bomb to blow up the elevator cable. The elevator fell freely to the ground. The FBI team was unable to escape and was crushed to death on the spot. The horrifying scene left Sophia speechless, but she quickly regained her composure and continued to lead the team to hunt down Clay. Not long after Clay reached the top floor of the building, he found the mastermind there, under pressure from Clay. He had to give a photo but did not dare to reveal his identity. However, when he saw the photo, Clay immediately understood. It turns out that the person behind this scam is the President of the United States. When Sophia leads the team to the scene, Clay has disappeared. They quickly find the photo, and the person in the photo is Drake, the president's son. Now everyone realized that Drake was the mastermind behind the scam. Elsewhere, Wallace was attending a party when he received a phone call saying that the assassination mission against Clay had failed again. At this point, Wallace was clearly scared. He knew that Clay would soon come looking for him, so he told Drake to call his mother, the president, and planned to go there to take refuge. The next day, the two of them rushed to the president's mansion. Although the security here was tight, every corner was strictly controlled, but it was obvious that they still underestimated the thorns. Just when Wallace thought he was safe, Clay emerged from the sewer like a ghost. He quickly hid under a truck. The vehicle inspector who had just arrived immediately took Clay down and quickly disguised himself. Then he calmly drove the truck through and successfully entered the mansion. What happened? It was said that someone wanted to kill him, and from inside the mansion, Clay immediately revealed his next plan. He carefully placed bombs in the truck and all over the mansion. However, just as he took off his disguise and was about to enter the building, an accident happened. Sophia discovered him. She did not hesitate to alert her teammates, calling the SIM team. The fire ants appeared, quickly dispatched people. Prepare to go, hurry up and chase. The CIA forces outside quickly took action. Sophia also chased closely. Faced with the encirclement, Clay appeared extremely calm. He raised his hands above his head and slowly lowered them, but no one noticed the remote control device in his hand. Just as the agent was about to shoot Clay, Clay did not hesitate and decisively pressed the activation button. Have you ever asked who I am? In just a blink of an eye, Clay had already taken down several CIA agents in the midst of chaos. Clay rushed straight into the mansion. After dealing with the hidden guards, he entered the house. The agents inside were no match for Clay. At the same time, Drake started to panic when he knew that Clay's team had broken in. Clay continued to clean upstairs. At this moment, the injured agent suddenly rushed out and started fighting with Clay. He tried to stop Clay, but Clay was no ordinary man. After a series of attacks like flowing water and floating clouds, Clay quickly defeated the agent. Then he strode towards the target. Clay used a bomb to blow open the door. Seeing the unfavorable situation in the room, Drake immediately fired a gun from the drawer, intending to restrain the president and threaten Clay. The guy who poked his head tried to stop him but was immediately shot down without mercy. What are you doing? At that moment, with a loud bang, Clay slowly walked into the room. To his surprise, he found Drake restraining his mother. At the same time, Sophia also rushed in from the other side, pointing her gun at Drake. The room fell into a three-way situation. The atmosphere was tense and suffocating. However, Clay remained extremely calm. He observed the escape route and ordered Lung, I will kill you even if the president can't save you. Then he squeezed the bullet and shot it straight into Drake's head. I will risk my life with you. Immediately after, Clay quickly jumped out of the window. Sophia saw that and quickly ran to the window. But then she stopped immediately, looking into Clay's eyes, and finally decided to put down her gun. Watching Clay's back gradually disappear, Sophia felt a myriad of emotions well up in her heart. She knew that her mother's revenge had been avenged, but at the same time she felt extremely confused. Although at this moment she did not understand whether protecting justice really needed lonely heroes like Clay. Today's story ended here. Thank you for watching the movie. What do you think about this movie? Please comment below.